Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about the chain punch. And the chain punch for many people is the cornerstone of Jeet Kune Do. In fact, one of my old training partners, Skip, said that the #1 goal of JKD is to get to the chain punch. So that's really the only reason why JKD was created, and that's the only thing you should do. And I think that has merit to it. Do I totally agree? No, but I think it's kind of a good framework of how important a chain punch is. Why is a chain punch important? A chain punch is important because it is what I think the fastest combo, striking combo that you can deliver out of any single striking combination. Now, some people may disagree. If you disagree, prove me wrong, which I'm totally fine with, and video yourself doing a faster combination than a chain punch. Now, chain punch gets its name from it resembles a chain, right? So it is linked, it strikes linked together that overlap each other. It's also in a chain, most chains is that the links are uniform. So you're doing the exact same thing over and over and over and over again. So the punch is actually the same right-handed and left-handed, as well as they're linked together, which is why they are so overwhelming. So the power, the prowess of this strike is that it is so fast that it is overwhelming to the person receiving the chain punch. And that is the magic of it. Is it the most powerful combo? I would say it's not, okay? And it's because of the mechanics of it is that you're not getting a lot of torque, you're not getting a lot of wind up, because torque and wind up requires taking time and space away from the punching sequence. And so here what we're doing is we're substituting power to speed, if that makes sense, okay? I'm gonna show you two different ways to do the chain punch. The first one, it was taught to me initially by Sifu Kevin Jackson, who was trained under the Paul Vunak system, the progressive JKD system. The second one, I learned from my other JKD teacher, Steve Golden, who was a student of Bruce Lee's. So they're slightly different. They both have their merit. The key about a chain punch is there's two things, and we'll use, quickly, Stefan will be our model. So if you look at the body, is that most of the center line are primary targets, right? So eyes are not quite in the center, but they're close. You've got the nose, you have the chin, you have the throat, you have the solar plexus, you have the abdomen, and you have the groin, right? So key targets are in the center. Key debilitating targets are and striking targets are in the center. The other piece of it is that the chain punch, as it's done, protects your center line. So as much as I'm trying to attack my opponent's center line, I want to protect my center line, and the chain punch does that. It protects your center line. So there's merit both the speed at which the strikes come out, as well as striking their center line, your opponent's center line, as well as covering your center line. So the speed, okay, so I'm a little rusty, so the speed isn't going to be incredibly fast, but it starts again, if I'm in a right lead, it starts with my lead hand punch, and then I'm quickly going to go into a chain punch. So it's, okay, and as it's going, right, is I'm covering that center line, right, and each punch is, because it's using the framework of my body, has power to it. Now, is it as strong as a full boxer wind-up punch or an old school karate punch? No, right? But if you notice, my chamber for my karate punch is all the way back here. My boxer punch may start here, but some boxer punches, they go here, they wind back, and you strike. So the idea is that instead of taking time and distance, right, you're adding speed to it, right? And that speed is the overwhelming piece. So just for the sake of your camera, right, you're here like this, and it's, right, it's speed coming at you. Okay, so, oh, finally getting warm, that's nice. So the idea of this is that first punch comes in, right, and it may be a boxer punch where I'm turning my shoulders, turning my hips. After that, I'm starting to square everything, right, so my second punch comes in. The punch that hits immediately relaxes, which is what we just covered in class. So I relax, which allows this punch to fire straight forward, right? This relaxes, which allows this to fire straight forward. The idea is that the punch that's firing is a straight linear path. Like a piston, is that it's straight linear, which is going to give it the most power and the fastest speed. If it's arcing, it's going to take time, distance, and power away from the actual hit. So we don't want to have it come up here and have to come up, then align itself, and then throw. It's firing straight from its housing, right? Wherever it's chambered, it's firing nice and straight from it, okay? So the key here is that as it fires, right, is that this one ducks under and this one can go straight. This one relaxes, comes back, right? So this hand, just in the motion of it, is that it strikes, it relaxes, it comes down and comes back up to the chamber. Then it fires straight. Then it relaxes, it comes under, chambers, and fires, okay? That's what you want to do, and again, it's in succession of hit, relax, hit, relax, hit, relax, hit, relax, hit, okay? So that's the first method. The second method, and I'm not saying that Steve Golden always does this is just one way that he teaches it and demonstrates it, is that more in a traditional Wing Chun way, is that his hands are here and his hand is coming up, sliding along his arm at the elbow and hitting. And typically his hands, instead of being vertical like this, how Sifu Kevin Jackson taught me, is that his hands are a little bit angled. So slide, 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 slide. The nice thing about this is it ensures you're covering that center line. Right, that center line is covered at all times because it gets crossed through and then hits. It gets crossed through and hits. Whichever way works best for people is the method you should do, right? So don't do one way because some teacher teaches you it that way, or the other way because the other teacher. I'm teaching both. If you can even come up with another way, great. As long as it doesn't violate the principles of straight linear punches, right, and covering center line. I can't think of another way to do it, but there may very well be. Also, the punches, right, the reason why in Wing Chun and JKD we do vertical punches is that the less movement, right, the less amount of time it takes. So if I've got to turn my fist as in a boxer punch or a karate punch, this actually takes more time, more energy to get to the target versus something that's just going nice and straight, okay? So again, what we're doing is we're trying to increase speed, right? So we arrive the earliest and we arrive just over and over and over, so it's overwhelming, okay? So another piece of this, so I'm gonna have Jess here. The key part of helping train staying in tight is, I use the Star Wars reference, is that she's Luke Skywalker trying to destroy the Death Star and she's in that alleyway. And if she hits the walls, right, the plane collides and crashes. So the idea is that you put up, this is the Death Star walls here, and she chain punches and needs to stay within it, right? And she stays within those walls, right? And if you do this with a partner, it helps really teach staying in tight. And I can even close it in, close it. She's getting closer, closer and closer to Death Star. Oh my God, she's hitting the walls. She's hitting the walls, folks. Oh, she spun out and died. Okay, so it is a good training method. You want to don't start like this, but you can start here and then bring it in to a reasonable amount. You don't want to really bring it in super tight; that becomes impossible. But you want to keep it within maybe half an inch per side of the fists, so that they've actually got to train that center line and keep that center line, okay? The other key piece, so keep going, right, is you notice her hips and her shoulders stay square, right? Her hips and shoulders are not swinging side to side, okay? This takes time to get to the next punch. So if these stay square and these stay square, that you have very little moving mechanics, and so my hands can be faster. As soon as I start turning my shoulders, I'm slowing down the rate at which my fist can get out there, okay? So you want to keep these square, and that goes along with the structured power of Wing Chun, right? Is that we're using structure here to give that power piece, okay? So strong structure means the backing of that punch is going to be stronger. Make sense? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with this method. Oh, last piece, whew, zipper. Is that how Kevin Jackson taught it was that as it comes up, you want to actually touch your sternum, and that gives you a tactile sensation that you're in the right place. So it comes down, up, right, and then straight forward. Does that make sense? Eventually what you want to do is get so that you're only coming out to your elbows or even less than that. But what happens is when people don't get this regular housing place, right, where they're chambering, is that it gets sloppy and they start doing this stuff, right, and it gets all wongly. So the idea is start here, get this nice and smooth. So you go slow, you get it smooth. Once you get it smooth, right, then you can start to speed it up. And then once you get it smooth and correct, then you can start shortening it. But the idea is that even when I shorten it, that I'm making sure that these are coming out straight, right? That I'm not starting to do this. I don't want to do this. This really minimizes power. All right, guys, 3 tactical integrations.